Have you ever been in a room full of people but felt completely and utterly alone? It's a feeling that's so hard to describe, but almost everyone knows it. Well, today we're going to dive into that silent experience. Not as some enemy we have to fight, but more like a teacher, a quiet warning sign. So let's get into it and try to understand what it's really trying to tell us.
Man, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Because loneliness, it isn't just about being by yourself. It's that deep, gut punch feeling of being invisible, like your voice just vanishes into thin air, even when you feel like you're screaming. It's that feeling of being totally, fundamentally misunderstood. So, this idea of being unseen, that's where we're going to start. Let's really unpack what it means to be alone in a crowd and figure out what that experience is trying to signal to us. Okay, let's just start with a quick, honest check-in. Just listen to these next few things and just notice. Notice if any of them feel a little too familiar. And remember, there is absolutely no judgment here. This is just about seeing things for what they are. So, do you ever feel like deep down, no one really knows the real you? Do you find yourself saying no to invitations, even when a part of you really wants to go? And what about when you are in a group? Do you ever feel like you're just fading into the background, completely overlooked? And finally, be honest, do you spend more time scrolling through social media than actually connecting with people face to face? If you found yourself nodding to even one or two of those, you are definitely in the right place.
All right, now that we're a little more tuned into the feeling, let's put some words to it. Because it turns out loneliness isn't just this one big, vague blob of a feeling. And, giving a name to exactly what you're feeling, that's the very first step to understanding it and, taking back a little bit of control. So let's look at the different faces of loneliness. First up, we've got emotional loneliness. This is that specific ache you feel when you have no one to share your deepest stuff with, your secret fears, your biggest dreams, your weirdest thoughts. You might have plenty of people to hang out with, but you're missing that one person you can be 100% yourself with. No filter. Then there's social loneliness. This one's a little different. It's about missing that wider circle, that community. It's the feeling of not really belonging to a group. That crew you can call up for a casual hangout, a hobby club, or even just a friendly group of coworkers. Now, this one goes a bit deeper. Existential loneliness. This is that profound, almost philosophical sense of being fundamentally separate from everyone and everything else. It's often tangled up with those huge questions like, what's my purpose? Or what's the point of all this? Feeling like you're walking a path that no one else can possibly understand. And finally, there's relational loneliness. Wow, this one can be one of the most painful. It's when you're right there, next to someone, maybe a partner or a family member, but you feel like there's a giant invisible wall between you. They're physically present, but emotionally, they're miles away. But, and this is so important, we have to draw a line between being alone and being lonely. They're not the same thing. Think of healthy solitude as a choice. It's like plugging your phone in to recharge. You do it on purpose, for rest and renewal. Unhealthy isolation, though, that's not a choice. It's a reaction to pain or fear. And instead of being a charger, it becomes a thick, heavy wall that cuts you off from the world. And that wall, believe me, it has serious, real-world consequences. Loneliness isn't just some feeling trapped in your head. It's a physical state. Your body literally starts sounding an alarm bell when you're chronically isolated. And the toll it takes is, well, it's pretty shocking. Just let this one sink in for a second. The World Health Organization has found that the health risk of chronic loneliness is the same as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Let me say that again. 15 cigarettes a day. This isn't just about feeling sad anymore. This is a massive public health issue. So when that alarm bell is ringing day in and day out, your body goes into total crisis mode. Your stress hormones like cortisol go through the roof. This leads to chronic inflammation and a much weaker immune system. And in your brain, it can actually shrink the part responsible for memory and emotion, that's the hippocampus, while putting your brain's fear center, the amygdala, on overdrive. It literally rewires you to be in a constant state of high alert. So how does this even happen? How do we get so stuck in it? Well, loneliness is sneaky. It creates this loop, this self-fulfilling prophecy that can be incredibly hard to break out of on your own. Let's take a look at exactly how that trap works.
It almost always starts with the stories we tell ourselves. You know the ones. Thoughts like, no one really gets me, or the big one, if I actually show people who I am, they'll reject me. Now, these aren't facts, they're just thoughts. usually born from old hurts, but man, do they feel real. And they act like invisible chains. And this is how it creates that vicious cycle. Think of it like being stuck in a swamp. First, you feel that initial pang of loneliness. Then, that feeling triggers those negative thoughts we just talked about. Those thoughts make you pull back, withdraw even more to protect yourself. And that withdrawal leads to more disconnection, which then, and here's the kicker, confirms your original belief. See, I told you, I really am all alone. And just like that, the swamp gets a little deeper. But you can get out of the swamp. There are proven tools, real escape routes. With compassion-focused therapy, for example, you start learning how to treat yourself with the same kindness you give to a friend. In something called DBT, you might use a tool called opposite action. So when your brain is screaming at you to stay home and isolate, you do the exact opposite. You go for a short walk. And with mindfulness, you learn to just notice the feeling of loneliness, to see it as a passing cloud, not as the entire sky. And that brings us to our final and honestly most hopeful section. Now that we understand the problem, let's talk about the solution. It's all about finding your way back, one tiny, manageable step at a time. And you are so not alone on this journey. J.K. Rowling has talked about a time in her life filled with deep depression and loneliness, where she said she felt completely invisible. And for her, writing became her sanctuary. It was her private way to process everything, and eventually it became her way of connecting with millions of people. It's just such a powerful reminder that your passions can be a bridge back to the world. So, what does this path back actually look like? Well, it starts small, like really small. A simple hello to a cashier. It also involves rebuilding the single most important relationship you'll ever have, the one with yourself. It means finding safe groups where you can belong. Maybe a small book club is better than a huge party. And of course, it means having the courage to recognize when it's time to ask for professional help. And to make this even more real and practical, here's a 7-day reconnection challenge. Look, this isn't about fixing everything in a week. That's not the point. The point is just to build a little bit of momentum. On day 1, you just write down how you're feeling. That's it. By day 7, you aim to plan one real-life meeting. See? Each step is small, it's doable, and it's designed to start reversing that cycle of pulling away. I want to leave you with this thought. Loneliness can feel like a really long, cold, silent winter. It can feel like it's never, ever going to end. But you have to remember, no winter lasts forever. Spring always, always comes. The seeds of connection and change are already there, just waiting under the surface. And please, if you take nothing else away, remember this. Even in your absolute loneliest moment, you are not truly alone in that feeling. Millions of people have been right where you are, and millions are feeling it this very second. That capacity for connection, for laughter, for warmth, it's still inside you. It's waiting. So, I'll end with a question for you to take with you. It doesn't have to be some grand gesture. It doesn't have to be perfect. But what is one small step? A text message, a 5-minute walk outside, a single moment of being kind to yourself? What one small step toward connection will you take today?